Hi friends, welcome. Hello, how are you? My name is Barb and this is my little stitchy corner of West Seneca, New York. And today I am not really going to do a normal floss tube. Okay, I want to talk to you about my personal experience at the Plum Street and Heartstrings Samplery retreat that I attended last weekend. Now I left last Thursday. The retreat was held, it opened on Friday, ran Saturday, and then ended on Sunday. It was hosted by Hobby House Needleworks of Pittsford, New York, and it was held at the Woodcliff Hotel and Spa, literally right down the road from Hobby House Needleworks. Now, the featured designers were Paulette and Beth from Heartstrings and from Plum Street. Brenda and Laura were the special guests, floss tubers. If you don't know Brenda, the sampler stitcher, and Laura, the serial starter, you need to go find them on FlossTube. Back when I started watching FlossTube, and this was, I want to say COVID time, right? I was watching Lori Holt, and she's a quilter. She also cross stitches, but I was watching some of Lori Holt's quilting videos just to have a connection with people, right? And she mentioned Brenda and Laura. She also mentioned Carol the Saltbox Stitcher. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna go look. And then Lori also talked about her own floss tube. And I said, what is this floss tube? So I watched Lori. Right down the rabbit hole, right? She mentioned Brenda and Laura. I went over to their channel and I watched their latest floss tube. And I said, oh, hang on. I went all the way back to the beginning and watched all of their floss tubes in succession. I binge watched them and I just developed this admiration for the both of them. It was just wonderful. I also started watching Carol the Saltbox Stitcher at that time. And then whenever like Brenda and Laura would recommend somebody or Carol Saltbox would recommend somebody, I would hop on and go over and investigate these other floss tubers. I can't tell you how many floss tubes I subscribe to now. I'm going to say well over 200. Some of them I watch regularly, like Sarah from Sarah's Stitchy Spot, Karen the Recovering Monogamous Stitcher, Helen D. I watch a lot of Helen D's design floss tubes. There's so many of them. You develop a liking for certain floss tubers or their style. Sometimes I know that if I watch the bougie stitchers, for instance, I know that I can sit and stitch and listen to them in the background. Same with Brenda and Laura. Carol Saltbox, though, she just did a couple of floss tubes where she went through with Thy Needle and Thread, Brenda Gervais, and I was like this, staring, taking notes as to, what I would like to stitch. So there are so many floss tubers out there to watch, and I truly appreciate those of you that are here sitting with me and listening to me babble, and that's another thing too. I do babble. Okay, so let me talk to you about my experience with this retreat. Now, I do want to preface this saying that if you ever have an opportunity to attend a retreat or spend a day stitching with friends, please take advantage of it. There is something to be said about the community of stitchers. And this also goes for quilters. If you've ever been to a quilting retreat, it's similar, but very different. At a quilting retreat, you have your own area set up and it's like that's your whole life, right? For 3 or 4 days. The stitching retreat, you have a space at a table. Now there were 10 of us at our table, and I made some new friends. 2 ladies from our table number 17, were new to retreats. And some of the other ladies were from Georgia. Honestly, it was probably Saturday afternoon. I put down my stitching and I looked at them and I said, ladies, I could listen to you all day. They're so soft-spoken, so very nice. I cannot think of one time during that retreat that I heard anybody say anything negative about another stitcher. The venue, David and Kathy held the retreat in a different venue at the Woodcliff. They had the event center, which was a separate tent, which held a lot more people, and it a tent per se, but structured. Okay. Other retreats that they've held there, they've held indoors in one of the banquet rooms at the Woodcliff. So from what I understand, David had said that this is something they wanted to try to bring in more people. The only comments that I would say about that is access to it. It was easily accessible, but for some of the stitchers that might have had some mobility issues, they had to rely on the golf cart to bring them down because there was a set of concrete steep stairs to the main entrance of the venue there. But we could also access it through the hotel, like walking through the swimming pool, gym area, and then out the side door. So there was access, but for some of the stitchers, it might have been just a little bit more difficult, and they had to rely on a little additional help to get them into the main venue. But it was wonderful. It was so funny to see everybody sitting at the table with their stitching lights, and you have your own space. I was very fortunate when I walked in on, Thursday I went and did my own thing. Friday when I walked into the retreat, and you just kind of walk up to a table and say, hey, do you have room? And the first table that I approached, she was like, I'm so sorry, we have other people coming. It's not a problem, right? There's plenty of other tables. So while I was speaking with the one lady at that particular table, another lady said, hey, come on and join us. So I sat down and we became table mates. And it's just an experience. If you're shy and an introvert like me, and I truly am, so even doing these floss tubes, it takes a lot for me to do this. But because I'm literally sitting here in my own home and I'm by myself and I'm talking to a camera, I'm not as nervous, okay? I was nervous when all of the floss tubers were called up. I wasn't going to do it, but I'll get into that. So anyway, sitting at the table, we all have our spot, and that remains your spot for the retreat. That's not to say that people don't maybe meet up with other friends. We did have a lady at our table who was hopping back and forth. She also had stitchy friends at another table, so she spent time with us, and then she also spent time at another table. It's wonderful. Please, if you have the opportunity, I know that it can be very costly, but if you have a guild in your area, an embroidery guild, look up online to see if you have an embroidery guild in your area. We actually have one here in the Western New York area, and it's pretty funny because one of the members of that guild is also a member of my quilt guild. So she said, how are you not in this? And I said, I don't know. I'm very uncomfortable putting myself out there. So I'm trying to come up to work through that, right? So check your area for an embroidery group. Maybe go to your local library and hang up a sign and just say, hey, I'm going to be stitching here on such and such a day, if you'd care to join me. My local library has a coffee shop, and that's where I actually met my stitchy friend Pat. Pat is also a quilter, and I met her through my quilt guild, and I've mentioned her before. She and I met up at the coffee shop in the library because she wanted to begin her cross-stitch journey and asked me for help. So, if you have the opportunity to do something like that, or maybe in your own Facebook group, if you have Facebook or Instagram, just make a post. Hey, you know what? I'm looking to gather some stitchy friends. I'm going to be at Panera or Starbucks on this particular day and time if you'd care to join me. And if not, you know what? I guarantee you, if you go to a place like that and you sit down to stitch, somebody's going to come up to you and say, what are you working on? Is that cross stitch? you might meet a new stitchy friend. So as difficult as it is for me to put myself out there, I did that, and I don't regret it. I don't regret it. Now, a lot of the groups went to dinner together and things like that. I opted to not go to local restaurants to eat because there's a Wegmans in the area. It was like 2 miles away. So I drove myself to Wegmans. I picked up some fruits and some snacks, and Wegmans has their hot prepared foods. They have subs, things like that. So my meals, the ones that were not provided by the retreat, my meals consisted of running to Wegmans, which was fine for me. So all in all, let me start with Thursday. So I got there early, and I literally went right to Hobby House. And when you walk in, now again, if you do watch Brenda and Laura, or if you don't, look for them. It's Brenda and the Cereal Starter. They did a great walkthrough of Hobby House on, I think they did it maybe Saturday morning. And it's probably about 40 minutes long. So go over and watch that. I did not film much. I did take some pictures, but I was a little uncomfortable using footage of people that didn't give me permission, like shoppers, right? So if you want to see what Hobby House actually looks like, go on over to Brenda and the Cereal Starter. I'm going to link that video in the notes below. So you'll be able to see. But anyway, I walk into Hobby House, and you're just like, off to the left is the linen room. The entire wall was linens and Aida, and I should say fabrics, right? Linens, Lugana, Aida. There was also a smaller wall that had a couple of cubbies, well, not cubbies, but shelves of linen. This is also, and there was a table in the middle of the room. So there was, they also have 2 cutting areas. So they, you tell them what you want, they will cut it for you, press it, fold it, and then they, have it in a bag for you. Now, I'm going to preface this. When I get to show you what I purchased a lot of linen. I didn't just buy 1 or 2 pieces. I probably have about 20 pieces of linens here. And the reason I did that is because I have a difficult time looking at the pictures and just seeing. I know that manufacturers or makers do their best to take pictures with proper lighting, so you can see what the linen looks like. But dyed linen is different because every piece is going to look differently, right? With the modeling and everything. So I purchased a lot of linen, and when I got back to my room Thursday, I laid it all out on my bed. I took a picture. I sent it to my stitchy friend, Cindy. And I realized that through everything that I purchased, I bought 1 Lugana. Now, I really like stitching on Lugana. I like the even weave of it. I'm making my move from Aida to Lugana. Aida I will use for stitching for like the holiday, like Easter or Valentine's Day, something that's only going to be out a short amount of time. I'll use Aida. I can't believe how much linen I bought. And I'm okay with that. Normally I like to stitch in hand. Some of this linen, you know what, it's going to be a game day decision when I go to use it. Am I going to stitch in hand or am I going to need a hoop? I am open to everything, okay? I'm not open to 40 count linen or higher yet. But I did purchase a lot of 32 and 36. That seems to be just what fell into my hands. So yes, I purchased a lot of linen. I picked up my orders. I had 6 orders sitting there. Right? I will show everything that I purchased after I go through what my days looked like. Coffee. Hang on. So I picked up my orders, made my purchases, went over to my hotel. Check-in time was 4 o'clock, and I got there pretty much right at 4 o'clock. Checked into my hotel, made my reservations for June of 2026 when Brenda Gervais will be there. So I am already set for June of 2026. Went up to my room, unpacked, and from there I went over to Wegmans, picked up some fruits, and I got a little sub for dinner, went back to my room, ate my yummy foods, picked up my stitching, and went downstairs. And David and Kathy had set up a Facebook group for this particular retreat, and I had said in the Facebook group, hey, I'm going to be down in the lobby. If anybody cares to join me, please feel free. I said I'll be wearing my slippers and I have a cup of coffee. And I did. Sat down there. And yes, there were ladies that came up and we spent the evening stitching. I had a couple ladies come up and they're like, well, can we take some chairs? I said, why don't you just move the other table over and let's all stitch together? And we did. And actually one of the ladies was from Grace Notes Fabrics. So I had a lovely chat with her as well. And went back on Friday and bought more fabrics. But anyway, so we all sat around and everybody was from different areas. I think one of the ladies was from New Jersey. Indiana, I'm not even sure. Illinois, I think. It's hard. The beasts are barking. Man, I lost my train of thought. Okay, so anyway, we were all sitting around the table, enjoying each other's company, talking about what we're stitching. I'm actually going to show you what I was stitching during the retreat. So we hung out there until, oh gosh, I don't think I got back up to my room till well after midnight or close to it. And then Friday morning, I had intended on going to breakfast. And I didn't make it. I went down to the lobby and I was going to stitch, and then I thought, you know what? I want to go back over to Hobby House because the lady from Grace Notes said that she had dropped off over 200 yards of fabric on Thursday when she went over to Hobby House. So I wanted to get back over there and check out her fabrics because I have not stitched on her fabrics. So I made a quick run over to Hobby House because the actual retreat began at 1 o'clock. So I did that. I came back, joined in a table at the retreat, and then from there, let's see. We sat around our table. Check-in actually began at 3 o'clock. We were table number 17, and it was funny because David was coming around and putting table numbers on the table, and I said, what table's going to go first? He's like, well, I didn't think about it. He said, seeing as how you asked. So our table number 17 was actually the first to register. And we did not get our retreat piece at that time, but we did get our little badge, has our name on it, and where we are from. So we had this, and we were given our paper, our agenda, and they had already posted that in the Facebook group and emailed it and everything else. So we went back to the table and hung around there, and we did some stitching. And they did the welcoming at 5 o'clock, and then they had a buffet dinner at 6. And it was yummy. It was pretty good. So I believe it was lemon chicken. I think there was some pasta, salad. I know it was good. And there was plenty of food. They left the food out for quite a while if anybody wanted to go back for seconds. They continuously gave us coffee and pop, water, Rochester, I believe, is more of a Coke product, and I'm a Pepsi fan. But, you know, it was there, and of course I'm going to drink it because, you know, water, coffee. Although I did pick up coffee for my room because I am a coffee snob and I really only drink Colombian coffee, and I'm not embarrassed to say that. So we sat around, we had dinner, and then there was a live band, Friends of David's, and I am telling you, the band was called The Dean's List. Now they played 80s, 90s music. I danced like nobody was watching me. I had such a good time dancing. And there were some women on the dance floor. Linda, I see you. We just, you know what I think it was? Part of it was coming off of the cancer diagnosis and the treatment. And I'm not going to lie, when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I wasn't sure if I was going to even make it to this retreat. But I did. And it was phenomenal. And just to dance and have such a good time and sing. And, there were not that many dancers, but actually, you know what? There were a couple guys at the retreat too. The majority of the stitchers stayed at their tables. Some of them went, someplace else to stitch, which was fine. And I think part of that was not because of the live music, but because of the lighting. The event center had big chandeliers from the ceiling, but as a stitcher, you need light, right? So most everybody had their own little space and they had their glow lights or whatever they were using. But some of the stitchers actually went back to the hotel and sat in the lobby and stitched. Whatever worked for you, right? So I hung out there till the band ended and then hung around a little bit more. And I think I left somewhere because the room closed at 11. So I left just before 11. I went back up to my room, dumped off my stuff, and then went back down into the lobby and stitched again until well after midnight. That was Friday night. Saturday we had a full day. The stitching room opened at 8. I don't think I got down there till about 9 o'clock, maybe 9:30. And then they did the demonstration. Paulette and Beth got up and talked about the kit and their collaboration. And if you have watched other floss tubers, because Jessica Sweetwater Stitcher was there, Burn Stitches, the Tattooed Stitcher, obviously Brenda and Laura, and there were some other floss tubers there as well. I'm pretty sure they've already posted their update, and I know pictures were already flying on Instagram not even minutes after the design was posted. I will show you that. I'm just kind of going through my whole weekend here. So they went through that. They gave us a buffet lunch, and they talked about the garbage plate. And everybody's like, what the heck is a garbage plate? Well, when we were standing in line, basically what it is you just pile everything on top and you pour a sauce over it. Well, the sauce is a meat sauce. Now, here in Buffalo, we have something called slime dogs. And it's hot dog with a meat sauce. It's slime sauce. That's basically what that was. It's a hamburger base, and it is a meat sauce, and it's not spicy. Theirs wasn't spicy, but I'm used to something like that. So I didn't pour it over my entire plate, but I did put it over my French fries because slime sauce on French fries is good. Our slime sauce here, when you get a Texas hot, it's, I can't even describe it. It is a hamburger base, I think, but it's boiled. So it really breaks down the particles a lot. And then there's like a gravy mix to it. It's very good on hot dogs with onions and mustard. So their garbage plate sauce, if you're familiar with slime sauce for hot dogs, that's what it was. So we had lunch. We did some more stitching. They did some activities, and one of the activities was they gave us some free charts, and again, I'll go through all of that. So again, mostly it was stitching and sitting with your friends. A lot of people went to dinner because they gave us dinner on Friday and lunch on Saturday. Again, I went to Wegmans to pick up, actually I had Chinese from Wegmans for dinner. Went back, did some more stitching, went up to my room. Saturday night, I actually did not go back down to the lobby. I planned on it, but I didn't. And when I was talking with my husband, he's like, it's your last night. I said, I know, but you know what? This is the thing. I don't stitch sitting at a table. I'm in my recliner, my feet are up, I got my stitching like this. I'm looking to the left over here where my design is on my board, my coffee's over here. I don't stitch at a table. So sitting, the chairs were somewhat comfortable, they had a little bit of cushioning on them, but sitting there, stitching like this, it was a pain in the neck, literally a pain in the neck. Because of course, I had my light, and then I had my magnifier, but my magnifier is small. So I did what one of the other ladies at the table did. If you know, you know. Right? 2 pair of glasses. That's how I stitch at home. So I got to the point Saturday night that I wanted to start a new piece, and I'll show that to you. And I was more comfortable being up in my hotel room and stitching up there because I was on, I was able to sit on the bed, stretch out. And of course I watched some floss tubes. I finished watching Colorado Cross Stitcher, and she actually was talking about the summer camp that she's going to do, but that's for a different floss tube. Okay. So Saturday night I spent up in my hotel room from like 11 o'clock on just stitching. And next thing I know, it's like 1 o'clock. Holy cow, I got to get to sleep. Sunday morning, got up, went back down to the event center. It was ending at 1 o'clock on Sunday, and they had some planned activities, but they changed their mind on doing those activities. And I thought, you know what? If they're not going to do the activities, and I don't know what they were, they never really told us what they were, I left. A hotel checkout was 11 o'clock, so I decided that I was kind of antsy and excited, and, I wanted to get home. It was a gorgeous day, and missed my dogs. So I just decided to pack up early. I headed back over to Hobby House because there was one more pattern that I wanted to pick up. So I went back over to Hobby House and made a couple more purchases and got on the road, and I was home by 1 o'clock. Now, I've said before, Hobby House is about an hour and 20 minutes away from me, so it wasn't a bad drive. It was a sunny day. I got home. My husband was out cutting the lawn and stuff, so, I unpacked. I started some laundry, and then I started pruning my rose bushes. But all in all, it was a wonderful time. I do not plan on attending any more retreats this year, and I know next year the only retreat I will attend will be Brenda Gervais. But that's not to say that some of my viewers that did attend the retreat, we've spoken about getting together at the Lazy Daisy stitchery shop, which is up in the North Towns from me. It's maybe 25 minutes away. So I know we're going to plan to meet up there and do some stitching. So again, if you have the opportunity to meet with a group of friends, even if it's joining a guild that you can attend meetings by Zoom, I strongly recommend it. There is just a wonderful camaraderie of stitchers, and just learning about what other people are doing or how they do something or their perspective or why they stitch a certain way, what brought them to stitching, things like that. So many of us, I want to say, and I'm being open about this, age-wise, I want to say those of us that stitched in the 80s when we were raising our kids, we put stitching a little bit off to the back, 80s and 90s, because we were raising our kids and we didn't have the time to really devote to the stitching that we do now. Now, I have been stitching since the 70s, right? And I've had that ebb and flow with where I'm stitching every single day and then where I'm picking up something once every 3 months, right? Because of life. So the majority of us that was at my table, this is where we are once again. And, a couple of the ladies, and this is also in just general conversation, they were saying, I've been away from it for so long and I'm able to finally pick it back up again. And it's wonderful. And there's so many things, right? Back in the 80s, what did we have? Aida. We had white and natural Aida. We had off-white Aida. We had DMC floss. The only variegated floss that I remember from the 80s was DMC variegated. Now we have all these beautiful linens that are overdyed and are overdyed flosses and silks and things like that. Just opens up a whole new world, right? So if you have the opportunity to attend a retreat or gather a group of stitchers and begin your own little grouping, please do it. Whether it's for stitching, cross-stitching, crochet, knitting, quilting, paper things, journaling, things like that. Please find a group and insert yourself into the group. It can be difficult to do. I'm a very introverted person, but when you find others that have similar likes, you relax a little bit. So that was my take on this retreat. Now, what did I stitch? I'm actually moving things out of the way here because I have piles of things. I tried to separate everything out before I started so I could talk without jumping all over the place, but I don't know how well that's working. So I primarily stitched not this piece. Not this piece. Did I put it all in one bag? I did not. Hold, please. Can I just tell you the heart attack I almost had? I couldn't find 2 of the pieces that I stitched on, and I'm thinking, did I leave them? How could I have left them? No, they were still in my bag. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so, goodness sakes, Barb. Alrighty. So one piece that I stitched on primarily was Fairy Coffee Mother. And of course, while stitching, you make mistakes and then you have to unpick them. This is a Heartstring Samplery pattern, which is why I wanted to stitch on this. I do have 3 or 4 in the series. I absolutely love this. So I am using the called for colors. Very pretty. This needle minder was actually given to me at retreat. So here is Fairy Coffee Godmother, or Fairy Coffee Mother. This is part 3 in the series that Beth designed with regards to coffee. And I was chatting with her while she was at the stand to get Starbucks. We have a love of coffee. So this was the piece that I stitched on primarily. I really enjoyed this piece. And, you know, yes, counting is hard when you're sitting there chit-chatting with friends. And I did have to do a little bit of unpicking, but she is turning out really cute. So this was the piece that I stitched primarily. I also move that to the other side of the table. I also brought along my Americana blue, and I did get some stitching done on this, and it is still in the hoop. Oh, you know what? I can probably turn it this way. It'll be a little bit better to see. Here's my Americana blue. Now, oh gosh, I just love this. I just love this piece. I am using Weeks Dye Works blue jeans. Here, I'll put it like this. And I am using a 36 count chocolate milk by Seraphim. So, and I am stitching only one thread over two because I prefer the muted look. Now, it does show better, obviously, with, you know, in person. You can see it. And yes, my linen is wrinkled, and no, I do not press my linen. Not until I'm done. Yes, I leave my needle in. It's off to the side. I'm not worried about it. But this was the other piece that I really worked on because I wanted to have some stitches in it, just, you know, as so to speak, as a memory. I suspect that this one might take me most of the year to do. I did start this on January 1st, but I'm not in a rush. Now, I had talked in one of my other floss tubes about a Valentine piece, a primrose piece that I started stitching, and I thought I finished it, and I couldn't find it. I didn't know what I did with it. I know I didn't finish it. I stuck it in timeout because it made me mad. I opened up the bag and I said, well, there it is. It was their Home Sweet Home piece for Valentine's Day. And I kept making mistakes. There was a lot of confetti stitching on this. And I'm stitching it on 32 counts Weigart, and it's a Belfast linen. It's called Blush. So you can see the pink in it. And I actually bought the floss pack from them just because. I did not buy the finishing kit because I didn't need the finishing kit. I have plenty of fabrics. One of the reasons why I bought the floss is because I don't have color and cottons, right? So I figured I would just buy them. So it's funny because, like I said, I thought I finished this piece and I was looking forward to fully finish it for Valentine's Day, and I couldn't find it. And I thought maybe it got buried downstairs under some quilting fabric and said, oh, I'll find it someday. Yep. In timeout. So I did put some stitches in that. Again, you know, just a little bit. I'm laughing because everything that I took with me is all linen and not any Lugana or Ada. Now, I started this. This is the piece that I started Saturday night when I wanted to stay in my hotel room because I did want another, I have a Heartstring piece and then I wanted a Plum Street piece. So this is a pattern from my stash. It's called Welcome All Hearts Home. And I know it's more of a Christmassy piece, but it means a lot to me to have my children and grandchildren here at Christmas. Unfortunately, they all can't be here. And, you know, two of them live out of, well, one lives out of state, one lives Long Island. But so I wanted to start this because I would really like to, in some way, put the initials of my children, my daughters-in-law, and my grandchildren, even if it's just the first initial, in here somehow. And I'm going to figure that out. I think if I sprinkle just the initials all around, just all over, I should be able to do it. So I did start this, and I am stitching this on 32 count paper bark by Fox and Rabbit. And I am stitching with one thread. And I just have a very small start on it. And I'm using the called for threads. So I did not cut my linen because I just didn't. I'm actually mid-stitch on here. That's when I looked at my watch Saturday night and said, "Jeez, you got to get to bed." So I started up in the left-hand corner. So it is a small start. It's going to be very pretty. Very pretty. The linen is very light. It's hard to even see any modeling in it whatsoever. It's very difficult. Even sitting here and with it up against white, it's very hard to see any type of modeling. But it is very pretty. I wanted to do it on a lighter piece, and this is the piece. So I did have this linen in my stock, but because I wanted to start it at Hobby House, I didn't cut the linen. I just figured I would start it, and then, you know, I think once I get at least the top area done, so I know that, you know, I know I'm going to have plenty of room, but once I get, you know, the top border done, and maybe I'll just, you know, go down. I don't know. I'll cut it when I cut it, I guess, right? So those are the 4 things that I actually stitched on while I was at retreat. Coffee break. So I did take partially kitted pieces with me because I was going to buy linen specifically for these pieces. But to be very honest with you, it was, in a sense, overwhelming because there were so many shoppers there, and I didn't feel comfortable taking up so much space, you know, like opening up my threads and laying it across the linens. I just didn't want to get in other people's ways. So when I shopped for my linen, I honestly just dug through piles, and if something looked really pretty to me, I wanted to start to bring in some more color of linens just to do different things, right? But one thing that I did, now I like I said, I brought, these are all my patterns that I brought from home that I was going to fully kit. Here's another Heartstring Samplery. This is the Festive Little Fobs Coffee Edition. I wanted to get the fabrics for this, but I'm quite sure that I picked up some lighter colored linens. This I have kitted with the Weeks threads. I wanted to pick up Santa Stops Here. I also have this, all of these are partially kitted with the threads. Pansy Patch Quilts and Stitchery, the Stitcher's Retreat. I wanted to do that one. Another Pansy Patch, Summer Garden at Cranberry Manor. And then lastly, the Needleworker. I wanted to grab fabrics for this. But as I said, I really didn't want to spread out while I was doing that. What I did do, though, when I did get back to the hotel room and, you know, I had all my linen laid out, I did grab one of the linens that I purchased and jammed it in this bag because I want to use it to do these. Now this is Needle Bling Designs, and it's called Suede. It's very pretty. It has very light modeling to it. I'll just hold up a piece here so you can kind of see. And I am in somewhat of a natural light, but I have my ceiling light on too. So this reminds me of a very light colory cup of hot chocolate that you've put a lot of milk into. Maybe you can see a little bit better here. You can see some of the modeling there. So I am going to use that with this pattern from the Scarlet House. Let me just got way too many pieces of paper here. Canine Quotes. So I thought this would look nice. Now I do have the threads for this. And like I said, when I looked at everything and I kind of did a little bit of a floss toss with these things and the linens that I did buy, everything looked like they would, they would definitely show up. So here's the colors against the linen. And I don't think I'm going to have a problem with this at all. It'll be really cute. Okay. So this is one piece, and this is 32 count, and more than likely, I think it's really going to depend on how the linen works for me, if I'm going to stitch this with one thread or two. Personally, I am pretty much stitching with one thread unless it really sinks back in and you just can't see it. So I guess I'll make that decision when I go to do it. So out of the patterns that I brought from home that I wanted to fully kit with linen, this is really the only one that I grabbed one of these linens for. And not that I didn't want to, it was just, I wanted to get back down with my table mates and just sit and stitch. I thought, you know what, I have all this linen. I can look it over when I get home. There's no need to rush into it right now. So that's what I did. Some of it I did grab because, again, the orders that I picked up at Hobby House, I wanted to get the linens. It really just honestly depended. So now let me show you. Let me show you what I bought. Now these were orders that I had placed and picked up at Hobby House. These are all the orders that I had placed. And in no particular order because I don't know how I did it. So, and like I said, I did go through some of the linens that I bought, and I did pick up some floss. They were really picked over because obviously with the number of people that were there and shopping and everything else. So one of the orders that I placed, again, from the Heartstring Samplery series of the Magical Elixir Coffee series. This is part one, this sampler, and it looks like a sampler until you read what it says. Coffee saves lives. So I got such a kick out of this because of the fact that it really, it looks like a sampler. It's got the alphabet. It's got people and a tree and the basket. But if you look at the picture in the basket, those are coffee beans, my friends. Those are coffee beans. So I love this. I just absolutely love this. So again, this is another one in the series of the coffee, the whole coffee series. So I decided that this is the linen that I picked up there. This is 32 count linen by Weeks Dye Works. It's very light colored. Almost looks white. It is just very difficult to see any type of modeling in it. And then I picked up some of the floss. Again, like I said, there was just so many people, and I do know that this coffee series, a lot of the flosses overlap, so I'm not worried about that. What I should have done, instead of piling everything on my board here. So here are the flosses along with the linen. And again, it's going to look beautiful. I'm not sure when I'm going to start this, but I might do it right after I finish Fairy Coffee Mother. So this is one piece of linen that I did purchase this past weekend, and that I popped into this particular kit. So again, it's 32 count linen by Weeks Dye Works. And the pattern was one that I had pre-ordered. Next, oh, I love this. This is a daily reminder by Brenda Gervais. Market release. Again, I picked up some of the floss. I'm not worried if I don't have it all right at this point in time because I know that I can always place an order and pick up those extra floss. So this is the pattern, a daily reminder. This is the, okay, it says, be good and do good. I just thought this was so pretty. And I tried to find a dark linen. Now this is 28 count arboreal by Cedar River linen. Now let me tell you something. If you can get your hands on some Cedar River linen fabrics, this is, what did I end up buying? I think I bought a fat half. I just said, give it to me, right? Just give it to me. It is stunning. And as I mentioned, I am trying to bring more color into some of the stitching that I am doing. But, you know, when I saw the dark of this linen, now she calls for, oh, it's the called for linen. But she calls for 36 count, so mine will be bigger because I'm doing 28. Just look at this. Look at this. Isn't this going to be beautiful? I hope to have this done by the time I attend retreat next year with her. It is just so pretty. So pretty. Her colors. So anyway, I bought a fat half of this. I also think this would be something that would be very pretty doing maybe a Christmas stitch, you know, like something with white, maybe, I don't know, an ornament or snowflake or something. I think it would be just so pretty. So that was another piece. Oh, my Happiness is Homemade cookbook, which I thought I didn't order, and I got really mad at myself, and I almost ordered it from 123 Stitch. And I said, oh, slow your roll here. I did order it. So I am joining in on the homespun needlework spring swap, if you're a member of that group, spring summer swap. And I was hoping that there would be something in here that I could stitch for like a summer piece. And there is. It's called Springtime, and it is by Manny Dodonna, and it's really cute. It just says Springtime at the top. I can't show you because it's just the chart. And it's a little lady standing watering her, looks like tulips. So I think, you know, I'm going to do that for my swap. Another piece that I bought, that I pre-ordered, was again by Brenda Gervais, and it's called The Earth Laughs. It's another new release for this year. This is it here. It says, The Earth Laughs in Flowers. Now, if you look, it's got Quakeresque design to it around the outside. So pretty. You know, now I have said many times, I'm not a fan of birds, but look at the color of that bird. That I would actually stitch. It's not overbearing, right? And it's funny because in this, in the floss that I picked up, what is that color for the bird? I think that's one of the colors that I wasn't able to get. So this is another piece of linen that I purchased at Hobby House, and it is 28 count Hazelnut Cream by Grace Notes. Now I had mentioned that she sat with us Thursday night and said that, you know, she had just taken, it was 231 yards of linen. So when I went back over on Friday, because I wanted to get some, I told her, I said, I've never stitched with your linen, and I'm going to, you know, take a look. Now, these colors on here, this is gorgeously modeled. If you can see, there's like reds in here and some greens. Look at the back. So again, I will use this piece, and depending on, you know, where my colors lie, where, you know, where you start, I will lay out the threads to see where I want to start this. Yeah, that particular color for the bird, it was not in stock, but these are the colors here. Look at how pretty. Look at how pretty that's going to look. And I really think that the greens and browns are going to pull the greens from the fabric. Again, this is the Earth Laughs by Brenda Gervais. And I will be stitching it on this 28 count hazelnut cream by Grace Notes Fabrics. So pretty. So, so pretty. I'm literally just rolling everything back up and stacking it in the pile. What else did I pick up? I did not kit this up, only because when I went back for linens, I figured, you know, some of these other linens that I have might work with this, but this is one that I'm not ready to kit up. This is Kathy Barrick's Vibrant Flowers. Now let's hold this up here. This is a new release. I really like the colors of these flowers. Now, I believe it was done in, it's calling for 40 count Thornfield from Needle and Flax, and it's calling for needlepoint silk. And that was one of the reasons why I said, you know what, I'm gonna back off on this, because I don't want to stitch on 40 count, and the sampler's not going to be that high or be that big. If I stitch it on 32 count, it'll be 6 by 10. If I stitch it on 36 count, it'll be 5.5 by 9. So I'm going to hold off on this one to decide just exactly how I want to stitch it, and if I want to invest the money in the silks, because there's a lot of silks on this. So that was another reason why I kind of put the brakes on that. Coffee. Look, and I know I'm going on an hour here, and if you've decided that you've had enough of me, I understand that. Well, if you had enough of me and you already left, you don't even know what I'm saying. But anyway, if you're still with me, thanks. Now, this is another one. I still don't know how I did not have Keeper of the Pins. Who am I? So I picked up Keeper of the Pins, Brenda Gervais, with my needle and thread. And I grabbed another linen that I picked up today, or over the weekend, is 32 count Albarium. I did get a fat half on this. This is also by Cedar River Linens. I am telling you, this is a nice stiffness to the linen that I know I'll be able to stitch in hand with this. So this one right here is, I bought a fat half. I bought a fat half because I really want to do all of these. Now, I picked myself up some silk. I've not stitched with this yet, and this is Soie d'Alger in the color, oh gosh, this is so small. Hang on a minute, we got to get the double glasses out for this. 2645. So I will do one in Soie d'Alger. And I think the first one that I want to do is the one that says My Soul is Fed with Needle and Thread. Actually, it's on the back here. So that's the first one I'm going to do, and I'm going to see how it works. I have not stitched with silk. I've been told that you have to use a smaller length of thread. Make sure that your hands are not dry because it's going to stick to your hands. So there's a lot of preparation with stitching with silk. But I'm going to give it a try. I want to do that first one, and then eventually, obviously, get them all done in the book. Brenda Gervais. Okay. Keeper of the Pins. I'm excited for that one. Now, the last pattern that I had on order, and I did mention this before, and I was very excited to pick this up, is my Americana White by October House Needleworks. October House Fiber Arts, I'm sorry. I love the series. My Americana Red is hanging on the wall over there. I took Americana Blue to stitch on. I showed you that. And then I have Americana White here. Now, each of these pieces are somewhat themed. Americana Red is more cross-stitch themed. Americana White is more quilting themed. Americana Blue is more sewing. Oh, Anyway, I picked up my floss. I'm using grits. And the reason I'm using Weeks Dye Work grits is because I picked up 32 count. It's called 18th Century by R&R. I wanted something that was going to be darker. Now, my pieces are not going to match, and I'm okay with that, right? I don't want to have my pieces match. I will stitch one thread over, but look at how that's going to look. Oh, so pretty. So pretty. So I was extremely excited to pick up this piece. So that was another piece of linen that I purchased. The last pre-order that I did was a piece of linen, Cedar River linen, coffee stain. It's 32 count. I got a fat half. Oh, I love it. Love it. Love it. Look at that. Ah, look at the modeling on that. Isn't that gorgeous? So that's going into my stash. Now, so those were my market orders, and then some of the linens that I purchased while there. And I have more. And again, I told you, I need to see it. I need to feel it. I want to see what it looks like against my floss. So yes, I purchased a lot of linen, and this is all going into my stash. On top of what I've just shown you, this is the additional stack of linens that I purchased. This is 32 count Mojito Smoothie. No, not 32, 28 count Mojito Smoothie, again from Grace Notes. Now she's got a little bit of stiffness. I think she told me she doesn't rinse her linens. So, but look at the color of this. Isn't that pretty, that blue? Look at the modeling when I hold it back. It's a very light, I want to say a very light aqua. Nope, let me make sure it's focusing. There we go. So that is a piece. So like I said, all of these linens are the additional linens that I purchased. This is also by Grace Notes. It's called Aqua Fresca. It is 32 count. This is very pretty. This I could see a spring piece stitched. It's a very pretty shade of blue, very light, modeled, very pretty. So this I did get a fat quarter of. Next, another Grace Notes 28 count. It's called Twyla. I really like this one. Oops. It's a brownish shade. Love the modeling. Absolutely love the modeling. This is the other side of it. Okay. Okay. And like I said, I do like this. It is a little bit stiffer, so I'm pretty sure I can stitch in hand. This is another Grace Notes, and this is actually the only piece of Lugana that I bought. This is called Brown Sugar Boba. 28 count. I got a fat quarter of this. It's a little bit browner than what it's showing. In the camera here, it's showing light, but it is a very nice, to me, a very soft chocolate milk color. And this is Heartland by Picture This Plus, 32 count. This has very light modeling in it. So some of the Grace Notes has more modeling to it. And then some of the other pieces obviously is a little bit less. You can see some of the modeling here. Again, this is 32 count Heartland by Picture This Plus. Very pretty. It looks like it has some green overtones in it. Very light, maybe sage. I don't know. I don't know. What I do like is when you put your floss to some of the linens, it'll pull out the colors. This one is, which I also have some here, Cafe au Lait by Fiber on a Whim. I love Fiber on a Whim. Okay. A little bit of stiffness. I know I'll be able to stitch this in hand. Okay. Cafe au Lait. It does have some modeling in here. I know the colors are really not coming out very nicely. I do have an overhead light on, and it's starting to get cloudy outside, which means I better go take down my laundry before it rains. We're expecting some rain this afternoon. This is called Southern Pecan by Dames of the Needle. Oh, I love this. Oh, it's so pretty. Look at this color. It is a little bit darker than what it's showing. I don't see much modeling to it, but probably because it is a darker, but it's called Southern Pecan, and it's a fat 1/8. This is Cedar River linen. It is called Overcast, 32 count. Very light. It does have some modeling in it. Actually, let me show that modeling. Maybe we can see that a little bit better here. And no, I did not press any of these. They press them at Hobby House and then they fold them. So, but you can see some modeling in through here. Focus. There we go. This would make a very pretty anything. Make anything. Again, 32 count, Overcast by Cedar River. This is Espresso by Fiber on a Whim, 32 count. Love this. Love this. It's got the greens in it. You can see the greens. The fabric is actually darker than what it's showing, but what I like that I see in the camera is the modeling. Oh, goodness sakes. This would make a really pretty fall piece too. Ooh, I spent that much. It's okay. Right. This is Cypress. It is a 36 count, Fiber on a Whim. This is pretty. Again, like I said, I'm trying to get color in. You really can't tell that by the shades of browns and stuff, but this is Cypress. Very light modeling. could see a Christmas piece in this. Can you? Only got a couple more pieces to go. This is a 36 count latte, fiber on a whim. You see the coffee theme here? I might have to make another pot. This is my pot from this morning. How many cups did I make, you ask? 10. Go big or go home. So this is, actually I'll go on this side, maybe you'll see it a little better. 36 count fiber on a whim latte. This is a fat 1/8. Has some very light modeling in it. Very pretty as it's flopping over. And then the last piece, we all know this one. Oh, there's 2 pieces. Oh, I bought 2. Did I buy 2? I liked it so much, I bought 2. Oh, no, wait, you know why? Because I have a piece for my stitchy friend, Cindy. It's like, why do I have 2 pieces? Dirty teacup. Needle and flax. Needle and flax, dirty teacup. Oh, so pretty. So I have a piece for myself and a piece for my stitchy friend, Cindy. It's 36 count. I will let her pick which piece she likes best, because that's what stitchy friends do. I told her I'd get her a piece of linen. So Cindy, when you come over this weekend to drop off your quilts, I'm going to let you pick your fabric. I'll keep it out. So those were the linens that I got and the patterns that I picked up. Now, you know, one of the things that was spoken of at retreat is a lot of the ladies are saying, oh my God, some of these floss tubers, how much money they spend, where do they get all this money? You know, how come they're spending so much that's constant? They're showing all these things that they buy. Yes, I bought a lot of linen, but I'm not buying linen probably until I go back to Hobby House next year, if even then. I like to feel it. I like to put my floss up against it. Even though Hobby House is only an hour and 20 minutes away from me, it's still an hour and 20 minutes. And then, you know, when you go to the store, you're there for 3 hours. So I'm going to get what I need, because there are times going someplace like that, it's just overwhelming. Like I said, I brought in patterns that I was going to get the linens for. It was just too much. There were too many people. I didn't really know what I wanted to do yet. So I picked a lot of linens that I am quite sure that when I go to kit up, fully kit up, or start some of these projects, I'm going to have the linens for it. So yes, I did buy a lot, but I know I won't be buying much, if anything, other than floss coming up for the remainder of the year. One other pattern that I did pick up, because this was on display, Paulette had this on display, and I said, you know what, I have to go get this before I leave. And to be very honest with you, I had to dig through all of the Plum Street patterns and finally found one. And it is called Friendship Garden. If I had a flower for every time I thought of you, I could walk in my garden forever. Now, one of the reasons I didn't purchase this at market, I have a problem with the word flower being separated like that. Flow, and then ER is on the other line. I have a problem with that. So when I sit down to stitch this, I more than likely will move things over so that I can get that ER on that line. And I might even, I mean, the way I would read it would be, if I had a flower for every time I thought of you, I could walk in my garden forever. So I struggled with that because of the way that that's charted. So if I can figure it out to make it fit, I'm going to figure it out to make it fit. I did not grab linen for this only because of all of the linen. I literally bought this on my way. I was leaving on Sunday, but I did pick up the majority of the threads, and I am sure that if I actually sit down and grab my linens here, I will find something that I can stitch this on, depending on. It calls for 36 vintage homespun by R&R. So even if I stitch it on 32, it doesn't matter. I will find something in my stash of linen, but these are the colors. And I don't have them all. They were out of a few. I don't even remember which ones they are out of. So, but I do really like this pattern, and it was on display there, and part of me just says stitch it as charted. The grammar Nazi in me says, oh, I don't know. Game time decision, right? So that was the last pattern that I picked up because this was on display. They had a beautiful display of all of the Plum Street and Heartstring Samplery pieces, and the stitching on them, oh my gosh, it's just stunning. Absolutely stunning. So what else did I purchase for myself? Well, Saturday night, one of the activities was Hobby House was very gracious in awarding door prizes. You didn't have to do anything. What they did was they did the random picker from everybody that had registered, and I won. I won something. Me. I don't win anything. And I was just happy to be there, right? Well, back in December, I'm going to just move this over here. My husband purchased for me the Winterberry case and the scissor case. So he purchased this for me for my birthday. I was shocked. Although when I went into the store, I had said something about when my husband came in, and David's like, yeah, I remember when he came into the store and the ladies just took him around, and he said, I just kind of slunk out of the way because he said, I knew what they were doing. I'm like, yes. But yes, so I won the little carry case. Now, I was able to exchange it for color, and of course I was going to go with the red, but they didn't have the red. The color that I won was like a orangish tan color, so I got the blue. So right now it just has paper in it, but one of the ladies at my table had this, and she dumped everything in hers, like, you know, thread and needles and scissors, and, you know, it was just a cute little carry case. So I won this Winterberry. Now, Kathy, David's wife, Kathy, owner of Hobby House, actually designs these. This was her, okay? So I won that, which made me so very happy. And then some of my other purchases. Oh, I'm like, where are they? I needed to fill my scissor case. So I bought myself some Saju scissors. Bink, bink. Yes, that is the Eiffel Tower. Yes, there's a little charm of the Eiffel Tower on here. And yes, that's blue and orange, and those are Metz colors. I had hoped for the red ones, but they didn't have them. And the reason I like the red is because I have a sports car, and it is red. But anyway, so I bought myself my Saju scissors. So they now live in my scissor case. And I also bought myself, oops, I'm knocking things over here, the needle case. It just has the little piece of foam in here yet. I have not stuck any needles in here. But I bought myself that to match the set. Very inexpensive. Very inexpensive for that. So I've got my little box from my Saju scissors. That was enough. There was a lot of purchasing. And yes, I know that. But I've also said that I'm not buying linen. I don't need to buy linen. I do have some linen upstairs. but I need to feel it. I want to see what the floss looks like up against it. So I'm very pleased with my purchases. And Grace Notes, I do like her fabrics. It's the first time that I've purchased them. Now, what were we given as gifts? I'm almost done. So if you've hung out with me this long, I appreciate that. I have got a pile of things here. A pile of things. Let me start with the retreat piece. I think I hear thunder. If that's the case, I'm going to be running out and taking down my laundry. So, Beth Twist from Heartstring Samplery signed my pattern. In conjunction with Paulette Stewart, put these together. This is Lucy to Henry and Henry to Lucy. And these are actual love letters written between Henry and Lucy. Henry and Lucy Knox. And there are stories behind this, and there's actually a book that I want to look up on Amazon, see if I can purchase it. A book with the letters that they wrote to each other. Now, they took these, and again, if you've seen this if you've watched retreat recaps from some of the other floss tubers, you'll have seen where they show the picture. They did a needle roll out of these too. You can do them individually, or you can put them together to do a complete needle roll. Now, they gave us the fabric, obviously, for the needle roll. So I chose, and of course the floss, and that all came in the little Hobby House bag, which is nice because everything's going to stick together. So I initially chose 36 count. Let me see here. No, I chose a 32 count, and it is, again, Southern Pecan by Dames of the Needle, and I did buy a piece of that. So this is my piece. Now, because there was so much linen left, I actually went back and bought another piece, and this is 36 count. So mine will be stitched on 32, and I really do want to do the needle roll. The floss, I can't even show you because it's just a conglomeration of floss, and David even said, he's like, and the amount of floss. So that was our retreat piece. Now, gifts that I received was a little prayer quilt. Okay, and there's a little cross in here. Lady was walking around, or no, I think she was at our table. Can't remember. So a little prayer quilt, a pin. This is a piece from Grace Notes. She was giving everybody a little square of her fabrics. This came from Hobby House. Now, Annabella, she actually charted this. We came as strangers and left as friends. And this is actually a very good rendition of the new Hobby House shop. So this was free from Hobby House to us. Teresa Baird was in attendance. And if you've looked at any of the things that she has designed and stitched, you need to. She designed this for us and gave this to us. I received little pouches. This one is really cute. This one actually looks like it's textured, but it's not. It's the fabric. So just a little pouch. One of my table mates gave a bag. I had to go take down my laundry because it's going to start raining. So another table mate gave a project bag. This is Stitching with Westies, another one of the Georgia ladies, or Atlanta. I think she said she was from Atlanta, actually. And it's funny because this fabric is the same fabric that I have a work shirt made out of because, you know, I work in a vet's office. So in the bag, there's all kinds of goodies. I was just dumping stuff in here. She had tissues and a little lint roller. Somebody else gave waxers, or she did, the little dog bone waxers. This I dropped in there. This was a scissor fob and charm, needle threader. Somebody was walking around with the library cards, which I actually use. We got from Carol's Creations. She gave some floss and then a little needle minder, doggy. This also came from my Stitching with the Westies, and she has, Amy Evans is her name. This is what you would wind your floss on to cut if you're using floss drops. So you'd wind it and then you'd cut in the middle here so that you would have, I want to say 36 inch or 18 inch. I'm not sure what this is actually lengthwise. I'd have to measure. But she had some really cute little tags on here too that I said I'm going to put into my book of days. So that was in here. Somebody else gave the plastic project bags, which I also use. I use my fabric project bags when I'm actually working on a piece. When I have things kitted up ready to go, the next ones I want to work on, I put them in the plastic bags. Cookies, which I'm going to put in the bin for the grandkids. A needle, let's see, can you even see it on there? See it there? Needle threader, some needles, little snips, some floss drops, and some rings, a little notepad, a pen, and some more tissues. So, you know, all kinds of good, fun, stitchy things. And people were just walking around handing gifts. I made, excuse me, out of screen. I still have my Easter decorations up. They're coming down tomorrow. I had made the towels, and then I loaded them up with some floss and the flower that Lori Holt makes, and then I did a covered button, and that would be something, you know, you could put on a stitchy bag or whatever. And then I just put my business card and then my floss tube card on here. So I still have a couple of these left over. I might give one to my friend Cindy. So, well, the whole table, which is why I'm sitting in the dining room today, because I knew I was going to have a lot of stuff. Oh, one other thing. Hobby House gave us these bags. Look at this bag. Look at this bag. This is huge, huge, huge. And it is branded with Hobby House. It's burlap. You can't see that with the handle in the way. Burlap with leather straps. It was filled. So yes, yes, I did. I purchased a lot. I'm not going to lie. I purchased a lot. I also know that I'm not going to be buying linen. I have, I don't know, well over 100 patterns upstairs, and probably more if we start counting, you know, the old cross-stitch magazines and everything else. So pretty much anything that I'm going to want to sit down and pull up and stitch, I have linen for, and I'm fine with that. I'm rethinking how I am doing my stitching, and I think I'm going to discuss that in my next floss tube. I'm finding that I'm just pulling the same pieces all of the time, and I'm also finding that I'm not stitching on certain things because I always gravitate toward the favorites, right? So I'm rethinking that, and I think I'm going to talk about that in my next floss tube. But this is just primarily everything from the Plum Street and Heartstring Samplery Retreat that was held April 25th through the 27th, hosted by Hobby House Needleworks and held at the Woodcliff in Pittsford, New York. Pittsford, Victor, I don't think it's the same, but some say Pittsford, some say Victor. It was phenomenal. Again, if you ever have an opportunity to attend retreat, I know there were a lot of other retreats going on last weekend. I think Stitch North was last weekend. Library Stitchers was last weekend. So a lot of the floss tubers are you know, just posting pictures and talking about, if you ever have the opportunity, or even if you yourself say, hey, friends, you know, come and sit and stitch with me, or just pick up your stitching and go to a coffee house like Panera or Starbucks or someplace like that. your local library, your local senior center, whatever. You will find people that will come up to you to just look and see what you're doing, and you might make some new friends. So it's very difficult for me to put myself out there, which is why I always laugh when I'm doing a floss tube, because that's not me. I'm very much an introvert, but because there's nobody else here and I'm just talking to myself in the camera, I'm okay with that. So it was a wonderful time. I am looking forward to the Brenda Gervais retreat next June of 2026. Again, if anybody's going to that, that sold out in 5 minutes. I know there's a waiting list. Actually, one of the ladies that was sitting next to me, I believe she's on the waiting list. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think I covered everything. I will do my normal floss tube next week. And just kind of go from there. Again, my thoughts now are I need to revamp my stitching order and what I'm doing, because now I have all these new things and I want to start them all. I want to have my hands on everything. I've got to reorganize myself. Plus, I have a lot of client orders. When I get done today, I have quite a few more memory bears to make. Though I have orders going out next week. I have a few quilts I'm working on. So I've got to balance my time. Other than that, thank you if you have stayed this long and listened to me babble about retreats. I appreciate it. I will see you all in about a week or so, I'm going to say. And again, if you ever have an opportunity to get together with a bunch of like-minded stitchers, please do so. If you're in my area, I am in West Seneca, New York, just outside of Buffalo, and you would like to get together and stitch, I would love to meet you somewhere. We could meet somewhere local or centered, around wherever we are, even just to spend some time together and chit-chat about stitching. I would love to do that. So if you've been with me this long, please, if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe, hit the like button, leave me any type of comments. I will be glad to answer as best as I can. And other than that, I'll see you all in just a couple of weeks. Bye for now.